Dear friends, I am Professor D.J. Trivedi going to take your lecture 11 regarding electromagnetic waves in a matter. This lecture I have taken from Griffith. In a Griffith, this is chapter number 9 and the topic is 9.3 electromagnetic waves in a matter. So, we are now shifting to the book of Griffith. In this one, 9.3.9.31 is the propagation of electromagnetic waves in a linear media. So, we are starting with the Maxwell's equations here. What are the Maxwell's equations? You know very well. Inside the matter, but in the region where there is no free charge or free currents, just like in a free space or a vacuum, when the electromagnetic waves are going to be propagating, the charge density rho is going to be 0 and the current density J is going to be 0. Here also we are considering that electromagnetic waves are propagating in a matter. But this matter is such that in that regions where there is no free charge or free currents, that means charge density rho is going to be 0 and current density J is going to be 0. So the Maxwell's first equations, divergence of D is equal to rho, that rho is equal to 0 and hence it can be written as divergence of D is equal to 0. The second equation you know already that there is no magnetic charge or divergence of B is equal to 0. So this equation number 1 and 2 are identical for the electric field and magnetic field. Similarly, equation 3 is curl of E is equal to minus del B upon del T. It indicates that the variation of magnetic field with respect to time will produce the electric field. Similar way, the fourth equation was like this, which was given by Maxwell by modifying the Ampere's law, and that is curl of H is equal to J plus del D upon del T, but the current density J is also going to be 0, free current density J is going to be 0. So we know that we can write this equation curl of H is equal to del D upon del T. That means variation of the electric field can produce a magnetic field. So these two equations relates that the variation of the magnetic field will produce the electric field and variation of the electric field will produce the magnetic field, vice versa. So this divergence del, which is going to be operating scalarly and vectorically with the electric field and magnetic field, that equations are going to be identical. That is equation 6.95. Now, if we consider if our medium in which the electromagnetic waves are propagating is a linear medium, then we consider that D is equal to epsilon E, because epsilon is almost constant over the complete medium. That means D is equal to epsilon A and H is equal to 1 upon mu B we can write, because we know that B is equal to mu H. So this we can substitute in our Maxwell's equation. So the Maxwell's equation, divergence of D is equal to 0. So we can write divergence of E is equal to 0. Second equation, divergence of B is equal to 0. The third equation, curl of E is equal to minus del B upon del T. And the fourth equation, instead of curl of H, I put B. So what happens? Mu is going to be multiplied this side. And here it was del D upon del T. So del D is equal to epsilon E. So we can write here del E upon del T in terms of the electric field, and epsilon will come out, and here B is also going to become out this side. So this is equal to curl of B is equal to mu epsilon del E upon del T. So the equations are identical for the electric field and magnetic field in a linear homogeneous medium, because in a homogeneous medium mu and epsilon do not vary from point to point, and hence this equations whatever we have seen previously, they can reduce to the equation 9.67, which differs from the vacuum analogous only in the replacement of mu 0 epsilon 0 by mu epsilon. So you can see that if this is the equations which has already obtained in equation 9.40, which was written for electromagnetic waves which is propagating in a vacuum or free space, where this mu and epsilon was mu 0 epsilon 0 was there, which is replaced in a matter homogeneous medium. This is going to be replaced by mu and epsilon permittivity and permeability of a matter. Evidently, electromagnetic waves propagate through a linear homogeneous medium at a speed v is equal to 1 upon under root mu epsilon. You know that this equation we have already derived. These are the values of mu and epsilon 0, mu and epsilon in a given medium. That is equal to the velocity of light in a free space upon index of refraction of a given medium or substance in which the electromagnetic waves are going to be propagating. So we can write that v is the phase velocity of electromagnetic waves which is propagating inside a linear homogeneous medium. We make the subject of the formula n here the index of refraction or refractive index, that n is equal to c upon v. The value of c is equal to under root 1 upon mu 0 epsilon 0, and value of 1 upon v, that is equal to under root mu epsilon. So combining this, c upon v is nothing but under root mu epsilon upon mu 0 epsilon 0. Now, for the most media, mu is very close to the mu 0. That means value of the mu and mu 0, 4 pi into 10 raised to minus 7 is almost similar for all kind of mediums. Either whether they are going to be in the vacuum or they are going to be in a different type of the mediums. That value is almost equal, and hence we can say that mu is approximately equal to mu 0. So in a numerator and denominator they can be cancelled out, remaining n is approximately equal to epsilon upon epsilon 0. Epsilon upon epsilon 0 is nothing but relative permeability, and this relative permeability is also known as a dielectric constant of a given material. So this is equal to refractive index is equal to under root of dielectric constant of a given material. We can say that at particular frequency. This observation is mathematically pretty trivial. That means mathematically it is not giving anything, but physical implications are astonishing. As the wave passes through, the field busily polarizes and magnetizes all molecules, and the resulting oscillating dipoles creates their own electric and magnetic fields. This combined with the original fields in such a way as to create the single wave which is with the same frequency but with the different speed. So what happens actually? Electromagnetic waves which are going to be propagated in a linear and a homogeneous medium. When it propagates, this original electromagnetic fields which can actually polarize and magnetize the molecules of a given material, and hence this given material there are oscillating dipoles are going to be produced, and this oscillating dipoles can create a varying electric and magnetic fields. So this induced electric and magnetic fields are going to be vector sum with the original electric and magnetic field, and there is a resultant electromagnetic waves are to be propagating with the same frequency but with the different speed. But with the less speed they are going to be propagating in the medium. This is the conclusions of this equation mathematically. This observation is mathematically pretty trivial, but physical interpretation are astonishing. As the wave passes through, the field busily polarizes and magnetizes all molecules of the material, and resulting oscillating dipoles creates their own electric and magnetic fields. That means they induce the electric and magnetic field which is time varying. This combines with the original field in such a way as to create a single wave with the same frequency. So the resultant wave, electromagnetic wave, will be having the same frequency but a different speed. This extraordinary conspiracy known in optics as the Ewald-Oseen extinction theorem. This is important reduction from this electromagnetic waves in optics. Is responsible for the phenomena of transparency. That means this phenomena is responsible for the transparency. That means even the electromagnetic waves, when it propagates in a linear homogeneous medium, they polarize and magnetize all molecules of the medium, and they generate the new electric and magnetic fields, which are also going to be combined with the original electric field and generate a single electromagnetic waves which is having the same frequency of the original electromagnetic waves omega. So omega doesn't change, but the velocity of the electromagnetic waves are going to be different, and this phenomena is known as Ewald-Oseen extinction theorem, and which is responsible for transparency of the medium. It is distinctly non-vital consequence of the linearity. So this is very important conclusions of this paragraphs. Here epsilon r is a dielectric constant. N is equal to under root epsilon r, which is nothing but relative dielectric constant or dielectric constant, we can say that. Since epsilon r is almost greater than 1, because you know that dielectric constant is always greater than 1, because it is nothing but the ratio of epsilon 0 upon epsilon r. So it is greater than 1 and highly travels more slowly through the matter, a fact that is well known from the optics. And because of that, the velocity of the electromagnetic waves in a matter is going to be reduced. That velocity is less than velocity of light or velocity of the electromagnetic waves in a free space. All of our previous results carry over with the simple transcription. Epsilon 0 is converted to epsilon and mu 0 is transcribed to the mu, and hence C is going to be transcribed to the V. The energy density is U is equal to 1 half epsilon square plus 1 upon mu B square will be there. You know that energy density EM we have already derived, that is E dot D plus B dot H, 1 half E dot D plus B dot H, and D is equal to epsilon E. So by taking that one, this is nothing but epsilon E square magnitude of electric field vector and B dot H, and you know that H is equal to 1 upon B. So B dot B is equal to B square, magnitude of B square, and 1 upon mu will be there. That means the energy density is given by U is equal to 1 half epsilon E square plus 1 upon mu B square. Remember these things. Similarly, the Poynting vector can be written as S is equal to 1 upon mu E cross B. How it comes? You already studied that Poynting vector, where notation was N, that is equal to E cross H was there, and H is equal to 1 upon mu B. So H is replaced by B, and hence it is going to be 1 upon mu E cross B will be there, and notation is given that this is going to be S. For monochromatic plane waves, the frequency and wave number are related with omega is equal to kV or k is equal to omega upon V. The amplitude of B is 1 upon V times the amplitude of E. This also you remember that for monochromatic plane waves, the frequency and wave number, which is known as the dispersion relations, we have already studied in a last chapters. That is omega is equal to kV or k is equal to omega upon V. The amplitude of B is amplitude of magnetic field B is 1 upon V times the amplitude of electric field E, and the intensity of the waves I is equal to 1 half epsilon V E0 square. E0 is the amplitude of electric field, and V is the phase velocity, and epsilon is the permittivity of the material in which it is propagating. So this is the amount of energy propagating through unit area of the cross section per second, that is known as the intensity of the waves, which is given by this equation. So this equation also is required for our further calculations. So I is equal to 1 half epsilon P E0 square. That equation is 9.73. Now, very interesting question is this. What happens when wave passes from one transparent medium into another, air to the water, say, or glass to the plastic? As in the case of the waves on a string, we expect to get reflected waves and transmitted waves. The details depends on the exact nature of electromagnetic boundary, electrodynamic boundary conditions, which we derived in chapter number 7, which is given here. So now, what is our interest? Is this. Our interesting question is this. What happens when a wave is passing from one medium and it is going into the another medium, and both the mediums are going to be transparent? So it is going from the medium 1, which is a transparent medium like air, and it is entering to another medium which is also going to be transparent medium like water. Then what is going to be happen with the electromagnetic waves, that we have to study. Or if it is going from glass, that is medium 1, to the plastic, that is going to be medium 2. So it is expected that when the waves are going to be propagating on a strings, we have studied actually in the Meldal's experiment and all that things, stationary waves, etc. That when the waves are going to be propagating on a string, there are two type of waves are going to be generated. Partially wave is going to be reflected also, and partially wave is going to be transmitted also. So similar condition is going to be observed over here also. When the electromagnetic waves are going to be propagating from one transparent medium and it is going to penetrating into another transparent medium, then what happens? Part of the waves is going to be from that interface between the medium 1 and medium 2. The part of the waves is going to be reflected back, and part of the wave is going to be transmitted into the next medium 2. This is happening, and how much energy is going to be propagated, it is reflected, and how much energy is going to be transmitted, it depends on the electrodynamic boundary conditions, which is already derived in a chapter 7. What is that boundary conditions? You remember these boundary conditions because these are the boundary conditions which we are going to utilize for further calculations. The first boundary condition is this. Epsilon 1 and epsilon 2 are the values of permeability for medium 1 and medium 2. And E1 perpendicular and E2 perpendicular are the amplitude or magnitude of the electric field, which is a perpendicular component of the electric field to the surface. So the surface which is bifurcating medium 1 and medium 2. This means the perpendicular component of the electric field vector at medium 1, and this is a perpendicular component of the electric field at a medium 2. So to the left and to the right of this surface, which is actually dividing the medium 1 and medium 2, and perpendicular to the surface, this component is E1 perpendicular and E2 perpendicular to the right and to the left. Similarly, parallel components are given over here like this. This is the indication that the parallel component of the electric field to the left as well as to the right in a medium 1 and in the medium 2. Similarly, this is for the magnetic field. The magnetic field is perpendicular to the surface of the medium bifurcating 1 and 2, and this is a parallel component of the magnetic fields. So how they are related? Epsilon 1 E1 perpendicular is equal to epsilon 2 E2 perpendicular, and second equation, that is magnetic field B1 perpendicular is equal to magnetic field B2 perpendicular will be there. Here not minus, but it is equal to, remember. So these two are related with equation 1 and equation 2 are related with the perpendicular component with the surface, and equation 3 and equation 4 are related with the parallel components with the surface. E1 parallel is equal to E2 parallel, and for the magnetic field relations are like this: 1 upon mu1 B1 parallel is equal to 1 upon mu2 B2 parallel. So this is not a minus sign, remember this is going to be equal sign. This equation relates the electric and magnetic field just to the left and just to the right of the interface between the two linear media. In the following section, we use them to deduce the laws governing the reflections and refractions of the electromagnetic waves. So these are the laws which are going to be governing the refraction and refraction of the electromagnetic medium, which we are going to obtain or which we are going to find out. And for that, this relations at interface of two linear media we are going to utilize here. So that is reflected in 932. In a 932, reflection and transmission at a normal incident angle. That is, normal incident angle, electromagnetic waves are going to be propagating. Angle of incident is going to be normal, perpendicular. Suppose xy plane forms the boundary between the two linear media. You can consider that electromagnetic waves are going to be propagating from left to right, and from left to right that is supposed to be z directions. So when the electromagnetic waves are going to be propagating in a z directions, we know that the perpendicular to that is the electromagnetic wave fronts will be there, that is nothing but xy plane will be there. So xy plane is propagating with the velocity v in a z direction, we can consider here. And let us consider that electric field is going to be polarized along x directions. That means electric field vector will be along the x direction in xy plane, and magnetic field vector B will be in a y directions in xy plane, because electric field and magnetic field must be perpendicular to each other, and they are propagating to the perpendicular to the plane containing both this vector, that is a plane wave. And we know that the concept of the plane wave, that means the electric field and magnetic field components are going to be constant over the plane everywhere. That means electric field and magnetic field are not a function of x and y, but definitely they are a function of a z coordinates, because from the origin, as the z coordinates is going to be increasing, it is a function of z coordinates. That means electric field is a function of z and t, and magnetic field is also a function of z and t. That means we can write the equation for the electric field and magnetic field like this way. If the electromagnetic waves are going to be propagating in the z directions, that means EI, I means incident wave. So the electric field incident is function of z and t, that can be represented by amplitude of the electric field, that is going to be E0I, e raised to, this is a phase factor, e raised to I k1z minus omega t. K1 is the propagation vector or propagation vector quantity in a medium 1, k2 corresponding to the medium 2. Omega is the frequency, either it is a medium 1 or a medium 2, the frequency is not going to be changed, that remains to be omega. And this is a function of z and t. So it is propagating in the z and t. And because the electric field is going to be polarized in x directions, there is a electric field is given by this magnitude of the electric field is E0I, and its phase factor e raised to I k1z minus omega t complex amplitude, and the direction of this electric field will be in the z direction. So unit vector in x direction should be there. Similarly, the magnetic field incident component is nothing but Bi zt, Bi which is a function of z and t, and amplitude of the magnetic field is supposed to be B0I, but B0I is replaced by in terms of the amplitude of the electric field, that means B0I is equal to 1 upon V1 E0I e raised to I k1z minus omega t, and magnetic field is y direction perpendicular to the electric field, so they are constitute a wavefront which is nothing but xy plane. So this is the equation 9.75 is related with the equation of electromagnetic fields, which is incident waves, which gives rise to, we know that when the electromagnetic waves are going to be incident on a surface which is a boundary between the two linear media, then the electromagnetic part of the electromagnetic waves is going to be reflected and part of the electromagnetic waves is going to be transmitted through that surface. So at z is equal to 0, we can consider that that surface is going to be receding. So now we can write down the equation for reflected waves, and that is designated that electric field of reflected waves, that is also going to be the function of z and t, that is equal to E0 r, amplitude of magnitude of the electric field of reflected waves, e raised to I minus k1z. Why it is minus k1z? Minus omega t x caret. The electric field remains in the direction of x direction only, but it is now reflected waves. So instead of propagating in a positive z directions, now it is reflected in a negative z directions. That's why this equation was here plus k1z, but here it is going to be replaced by minus k1z because it is a reflected waves. But it remains into the positive x direction only. So unit vector in the x direction. Similarly, the magnetic field reflected components, that is vector Br, which is a function of z and t, that is equal to minus 1 upon V1 E0r. Again this is supposed to be B0r, but magnitude of reflected waves, but that can be written in terms of the magnitude of the electric field vectors, and that is equal to 1 upon V1 times E0r. So that is B0r is replaced by 1 upon V1 E0r e raised to I minus k1z minus omega t. But because it is now reflected in a backward direction, in a negative z directions, this electric field, magnetic field is going to be reversed. That means instead of positive y directions, the magnetic field vector will be in negative y directions, and that's why here the negative sign has induced, which travels back to the left in the medium 1. And transmitted waves. Now we are writing the equation for the transmitted waves, that means electric field of the transmitted waves Et, which is a function of z and t, because it is propagating still in a z direction only. E0t, amplitude of this electric field E0t e raised to I k2z. K2 is the value in a medium 2. It is propagating in a positive z direction, so there is no minus sign. So k2z minus omega t, still electric field remains into the positive x direction only. Similarly, the magnetic field is also going to be remains into the y direction, and that is a function of z and t. So bt, which is a function of z and t, that is equal to 1 upon v2, because the phase velocity of the electromagnetic waves in a medium 2 will be v2, and its amplitude in terms of the electric field, that means E0 t, that means B0 t is equal to 1 upon V2 E0 t e raised to I k2z minus omega t, and it is also in a positive y direction only because it is not changed. That is equation 9.77, which continues on the right to the medium 2. That means this is going to be transmitted right into the medium 2. Not the minus sign in Br as required by the equation 9.49, or if you prefer, by the fact that the Poynting vector aims in the direction of propagation. That means E cross H or E cross B is always in the direction of propagation. So this is the incident wave. You can see that from the left hand side of this xy plane, this is going to be the xy plane. This shows the surface which is actually intersection, or it is bifurcating the medium 1 as well as medium 2. So when it is going to be incident at z is equal to 0, we can consider that electromagnetic waves, this is the electric field vector was in x direction and magnetic field vector was in a y direction. This is y direction, and it is propagating in a positive z direction. After entering into the medium 2, they remains into the same type of the waves. That means the electric field will be in x direction, the magnetic field will be remains into the positive y directions, and it is propagating in a positive z direction. So transmitted waves and the incident waves are having all the things are going to be same except their amplitudes. This is regarding the reflected waves. You can see that reflected wave is reflected from the surface, same angle of incident and angle of reflections remain same, so they are normal 90 degrees. So ER remains to be same as a EI, but because it is now reflected and moving back into the negative z directions, you can see that V1 velocity is going to be reversed now, and hence Bi also has to be reversed as in a Br. Bi was in a positive y directions, but Br is a negative y directions. That's why that negative sign is going to be obtained here in this equation 9.76 minus 1 upon V1 E0R e raised to I minus K1Z minus omega t and negative y direction. So minus sign here. Now equation 9.74. In this case, there are no components perpendicular to the surface. So 1 and 2 are trivial. Just a minute. At z is equal to 0, the combined fields on the left EI plus ER and BI plus BR must join the field on the right, that is ET and BT, in accordance with the boundary conditions. So left to this surface, what is the resultant electric field? The vector EI and vector ER, they are going to be combined. Vector BI and vector BR is going to be combined on the left hand side of the medium, and on the right hand side of the medium ET and BT, they are going to be combined accordance to the boundary conditions just we have seen. We know that electromagnetic waves are perpendicular to the direction of propagation. That means electric field vector is parallel to the surface, the magnetic field vector is also parallel to the surface. That means there is no perpendicular component to the surface, and hence the equation 1 and 2 of these equations, which are related with the perpendicular component to the surface, this epsilon 1 E1 perpendicular is equal to epsilon 2 E2 perpendicular, and B1 perpendicular is equal to B2 perpendicular. This equation is not related. They are parallel with the surface. So we are going to utilize here the equation 1, 3 and 4. 3 is E1 parallel is equal to E2 parallel. And the fourth one is 1 upon mu 1 B1 parallel is equal to 1 upon mu 2 B2 parallel. So here using this, in this case there are no components which are perpendicular to the surface, so equation 1 and equation 3 are not important. From the equation 3 we can say that on the left hand side of the surface, joining the electric field amplitudes or magnitude E0I plus E0R. This is the magnitude of incident electric field and reflected electric field on the left hand side. This is equal to E0T. That is equal to, yeah, sign is missing, it's not minus sign, it is equal to E0T. Similarly, there is a fourth equation says that 1 upon mu 1 B1, that is what happens, incident magnetic field, magnitude of the incident magnetic field, that is given in terms of the electric field 1 upon V1 E0I minus 1 upon, because this is a minus sign, because this is a positive y direction and this is going to be negative y direction, so minus sign is there, minus 1 upon V1 E0R. This is equal to, on the right hand side, 1 upon mu 2 the magnitude of the magnetic field of transmitted waves B0T, and B0T is equal to 1 upon V2 E0T, that is substituted here. So V1 is going to be common, taken outside, that means E0I minus E0R. E0I minus E0R, that is equal to mu1 V1 is taken on right hand side upon mu2 V2, that is equal to E0T, and mu1 V1 upon mu2 V2, that is given a designation of beta, and that's why this equation reduced to like this: E0I minus E0T is equal to beta times E0 transmitted waves. So we have obtained this two equation 9.78. The first equation we obtained from the equation number 3, and this equation we obtained from the equation number 4. This is from the electric field parallel components, this is from the magnetic field parallel components, and we have obtained two equations, and we can solve these two equations for E0R and E0T. So E0R is the magnitude of the electric field of reflected waves, and E0T is the magnitude of electric field of transmitted wave in terms of the magnitude of the electric field of incident waves that can be solved. So we can write, solving this two, we can say that beta is equal to mu1 V1 upon mu2 V2. Now what is V1 is equal to? V1 we can replace by this one, we can divide and multiply it by velocity of light c, and that means c upon V2 is nothing but your n2, and V1 upon c is nothing but 1 upon n1 refractive index. So that is substituted. So beta we can write in this term also mu1 V1 upon mu2 V2, or we can write mu1 n2 upon mu2 n1. Examination of 9.78 and 9.80 are easily solved for outgoing amplitudes in terms of incident amplitudes. That means reflected waves electric field amplitude E0R, that is equal to 1 minus beta upon 1 plus beta E0I. That means E0R is a function of E0I. So how much fraction of E0I is going to be reflected back, that is given by this equation, and E0T, that is the magnitude of the transmitted waves E0T, that is equal to 2 upon 1 plus beta E0I. So how much energy or how much electric field vector magnitude is going to be transmitted through from one medium to another medium is shown by these equations. So these two equations are very important. Beta is equal to mu1 V1 upon mu2 V2, and that is equal to mu1 n2 upon mu2 n1. We know that for the most media, mu is equal to mu1 is equal to approximately equal to for mu2, because mu and mu0 are not going to be changed for most media, they are going to be equivalent. So we can write that mu1 is approximately equal to mu2, and that means they can be cancel out, and that means beta is equal to V1 upon V2, or we can say that N2 upon N1, and that can be substituted here, and we can obtain this equation in another forms. These results are striking similar to the ones for the wave on a string. Indeed, if the permeabilities mu are close to their values in a vacuum, that means mu are very close to the mu0 in vacuum for almost all matters, as remember they are for the most media, then beta is equal to, we can write V1 upon V2 or N2 upon N1, and we have E0R is equal to, substituting beta is equal to V1 upon V2. So we'll get V2 minus V1 upon V2 plus V1 E0I. So the amplitude of the electric field, reflected one, in terms of incident magnitude of the electric field. Similarly, this is the magnitude of the transmitted waves electric field in terms of incident waves, but the fraction here is we have obtained in terms of the phase velocity of electromagnetic waves in a medium 1 and medium 2, that is in the terms of V1 and V2, which are identical to the equation 9.30. In that case, as before, the reflected wave is in a phase right side up if V2 is greater than V1. So, you can say that reflected waves, if V2 is greater than V1, that means this fraction is going to be positive. It indicates that reflected waves is in a phase with the incident waves. But if V1 is less than V1, that means this quantity becomes negative, which indicates that reflected waves is out of phase to the incident waves, which are identical to the equation 9.30. In that case, as before, the reflective wave is in phase right up if V1 is greater than V1, and out of phase, out of 180-degree phase shift, upside down if V2 is less than V1. The real amplitude are related by this equation. So, this terms it is written in terms of the modulus. So, in terms of the magnitude only. So, E0R, the magnitude of the reflected waves is equal to V2 minus V1 upon V2 plus V1 E0I, and E0T is equal to 2 times V2 upon V2 plus V1 into E0I, or in terms of the indices of the refraction, that means refractive index N1 and N2. We know that beta is equal to V1 upon V2, or it is equal to N2 upon N1. So, that can be substituted and we get E0R is equal to N1 minus N2 upon N1 plus N2 E0I, and E0T is equal to 2 times N1 upon N1 plus N2 E0I. Substituting this value of beta in this term, we can obtain E0R and E0T in terms of angle indices of refraction. What fractions of the incident energy is reflected and what fraction is transmitted? According to this equation 9.73, the intensity average power per unit area is given by this formula, intensity of the electromagnetic waves. We already just discussed that amount of energy passing through the unit area of the cross section per second. That means energy is nothing but joule per second, that is the power. Watt. So, watt per meter square, that is the average power which is going to be transmitted in the intensity of waves. So, that is the real equation is given, I is equal to 1 half epsilon V E0 square, electric field amplitude square. V is the phase velocity in a given medium. V, if it is a medium 1, it is V1, and the value of epsilon is going to be epsilon 1. If it again mu1 is equal to mu2 is equal to mu0, then the ratio of reflected energy intensity to the incident is given by R is equal to, and that is given a coefficient R, that is equal to the ratio of reflected intensity, that is IR, upon incident intensity, that is equal to II. And if we take the ratio from our previous equations, so if we take this one E0R upon E0I, like this one, because reflected and incident, they are going to be the same medium 1, that means epsilon and V for the reflected as well as for the transmitted, reflected as well as incident, that values are going to be the same. 1 half will be cancelled out, that means IR upon II, in that case 1 half epsilon V is going to be cancelled out, and that is equal to E0 R square upon E0 I square will be there. So, R is equal to reflected intensity upon incident intensity is equal to E0R upon E0I whole square, amplitude square, and that can be equal to N1 minus N2 upon N1 plus N2 whole square. Whereas the ratio of the transmitted intensity to the incident intensity, in that case mu1, epsilon 1 and V1 for the medium 1 will be there, and epsilon 2 and V2 will be for the medium 2 will be there. So, when you take that ratio of transmitted intensity, IT is equal to 1 half epsilon 2 V2 E0T whole square. And similarly for the incident one, 1 half epsilon 1 V1 E0I whole square. So 1 half will be cancelled out in both the cases, and we can solve this one, and we find out that this ratio of the intensity is nothing but the coefficient T, transmission coefficient capital T, and that is equal to 4 times N1 N2. R is called the reflection coefficient and T is called the transmission coefficient. They measure the fraction of the intensity incident energy that is reflected and transmitted. So R indicates that how much percentage of the energy which is going to be incident is reflected back, and how much amount of the energy is transmitted through another medium after transmitting. So notice that R plus T is equal to 1. That means the total energy which is going to be incident on the surface. Out of that, part of the energy is reflected back, and part of the energy is transmitted into another medium. Summation of this energy is equal to the total incident energy, and according to the conservation of the energy, and hence R plus T has to be equal to 1. As the conservation of the energy, of course, that requires, for instance, when the light passes from the air medium, air which is having angle of refraction is going to be N1 is equal to 1. And if it is propagating into the medium 2, that is another transparent linear homogeneous medium, which is having angle of refraction is going to be 1.5. If we substitute in this one, the value of R we can obtain from these equations, that is N1 is equal to 1 and N2 is equal to 1.5. If you substitute, you will get the R, that means reflection coefficient, is equal to 0.04, and similarly transmission coefficient from this equation we can obtain 0.96. Summation of this one is going to be 1. No surprise, most of the light is transmitted. 96% of the light is transmitted, on only 4% light is reflected back from when it is propagating from air to the glass. That is our experience also. Thank you very much, friends.